Oxford has had a theatre since 1833, but the present new theatre in George Street dates from 1934. A wonderful theatre with a seated capacity of over 1,700 that has attracted great dramatic actors, singers and musicians over the years. It is a lively place when filled with theatre staff and players who then grace the large stage performing to a packed auditorium. At night, however, the eeriness of an empty theatre takes over. You'd expect staff to report experiences in such conditions. One account from a security guard, for example, tells of hearing running across the balcony above him. Past managers have reported being greeted by a discarnate voice as they walk through fire exit doors. One manager, locking up at night, looked across from one side of the circle seating area to the other at a figure who just stood looking at her. When she approached it, it disappeared. On one particular occasion, a number of people seated in the main part of the theatre witnessed a translucent shape, some reported a figure, moving across and down the balcony area. There are areas where members of staff don't like to go. The wardrobe on the top floor is one particular area where, in particular, the female staff tend to feel very uncomfortable. 2 dressing rooms at the end of the corridor are said to be so haunted by a presence, some theatre companies prefer one dressing room to another. And there's something odd about the dressing room corridor too. It makes many of the staff very uncomfortable, so much so that on my first visit, some of them stood at one end of it, didn't walk down it, and spoke about it in hushed tones. It is an amazing location, but one that has never been investigated before.
It's supposedly a very haunted corridor. I know, for example, that the maintenance people won't come here, and if they do, they come in twos. It's just a frightening place to be, particularly with the temperature. It drops, very cold, and you just get a very strange feeling. Dressing rooms 15 and 16, really bad, particularly the lower one. That has a very strange feeling to it as you walk in, and the one above, everybody reports it to be haunted, so who knows what we'll get.
I'm standing in the dressing room corridor, which leads to dressing rooms 16 and 15, and this whole area is a haunted area. I've been shown around here by some of the staff here, and they don't like this corridor for some reason. I'm very conscious that it slopes and it looks quite dingy even, in the daylight here, but as the light goes down later on tonight, it's going to get a lot darker, a lot more eerie. But certainly it makes sense to have a CCTV system set up so that we can have constant shot of the corridor and also constant shot of one of the dressing rooms.
Hello, I'm Sam Hill, work at the Oxford New Theatre, stage crew member, so I set up shows and whatnot. Here I am in the Circle foyer. It was about 6 AM and I was stuck on the bars. I noticed at the corner of my eye, my peripheral vision, a man come out of one wall and literally walk across the foyer into another wall. He was wearing a suit. What I can say is, older times, I wouldn't say modern, so we're talking maybe 50s or 40s. I couldn't exactly date it, I wouldn't know, but yeah, definitely saw what I saw, and he came out, literally out of the wall, but clear as day. Saw him, dark hair, clean shaven, sophisticated looking man. We are in Oxford. Literally into the corner of the wall there, where it bends, right through.
We're dealing with a location that has so many experiences. Loads of staff have had lots of experiences, and I'm standing in a corridor now where the stairs lead up to wardrobe area, which is a location that a lot of staff won't go. They just find it spooky. I wish I could think of a more technical word. They just don't like it. And the auditorium, to be honest, is going to be an absolute nightmare to investigate. I'll be chatting to Tim and Amy from Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Service, and they'll be bringing a CCTV system, and at some point we'll sit down and look at how we can actually set up a CCTV in the theatre and the auditorium and have that running the entire time. It's going to be a tough investigation,
but a good one.
The priority for me for any investigation is setting up CCTV before anything else happens. Once the CCTV is set up, then you can capture anything else happening. You can capture the team arriving, you can capture the team setting up monitoring equipment, but more importantly, you can also allocate time for the CCTV to be running when there's nobody there. From that point on, the investigation begins. I have a preference for this, and that's to start with lone investigations. People going into particular areas without knowledge about those areas and just soaking up the atmosphere, making sure there are audio recorders but also camcorders to kind of keep a diary record of what that person is experiencing. In addition, of course, if they're going into any haunted areas of a particular location, there'll be CCTV to back up those other recordings. It's all about trying to capture as much footage as possible in the hope that maybe we get some evidence that we can analyse later. In addition to CCTV, there's also monitoring equipment. I like to set up equipment that really is more focused on environmental monitoring than anything else. So specifically things like temperature and humidity. But at the same time, there has to be a logical reason for setting this stuff up. If you've got a location where people only report visual experiences, they only see a figure, for example, then would there be any merit to recording temperature or humidity? Well, the argument could be from a psychologist's perspective. If people feel a breeze or they feel a drop in temperature, then they might misinterpret a shadow as being the cause of that temperature drop, thinking that the shadow is actually a ghost and therefore it's caused the temperature around them to go down. So at the end of the day, there's arguments both ways in terms of recording all of these environmental variables. It is possible with little data loggers to record temperature and humidity constantly during any investigation and then download the data and look at it later on a graph. In addition to that, you've also got to think about what are the previous experiences reported in a location. A theatre, we're dealing with a location where it's primarily visual, although there are some areas where people say that they don't like going. We don't have so much auditory phenomena in the theatre. There's only one particular area around the fire exit doors where past managers have reported hearing things. But generally we're dealing with visual phenomena, and that's either translucent shape, shadows, people even seeing figures, but definitely there's a visual element to this. So it makes more sense to have the CCTV running as much as possible, but not only that, not just restricting ourselves to 4 cameras, which is the usual approach for some investigators. We'll put in as many cameras as we can to cover every possible area where there have been visual phenomena reported.
It's funny, you don't realise how big it is from this side of the stage looking out that way and above you.
Yeah,
It's
it really
just-
is huge.
It's one of those areas where you do feel watched here from almost everywhere, don't you? There's almost,
You do get the feeling that you are.
yeah. It's just, what's nice about doing a lit vigil is you can walk around it without the suggestion of it being in the dark.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can really start picking up on some of the atmosphere of the room without worrying that it's suggestion because it's really pitch black.
So apparently someone was seen running down there
Okay.
and then disappearing out the fire exit door. We've seen quite a few people apparently. One of the shows. And then behind us, in that balcony up there,
Yep.
one of the managers was locking up, and then there's one of the members of staff, was 2 people standing there. One of the members of staff went, and then she, apparently the other person just sort of vanished into, One of the security men got shut in here by mistake. Apparently he sort of spent the night lying down in the stalls but heard children running around him.
Yeah.
Which is quite scary.
Look, something went tap over in that corner.
I heard the sound twice, 1, 2, 3.
You can feel the potential, can't you? It's almost like that perpetual state of waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's because it's the theatre where you're always, do you know what I mean? You get that real nervous energy of the beginning of the show or waiting for the show to start, and it almost seeps into the building and you can't help but feel that kind of nervous tenseness just in the atmosphere.
Oh, there's somebody definitely walking. Thing is, you can hear distant footsteps, but you don't know if that's a member of staff or...
No, exactly. Well, there's CCTV up, so... Shall I go and poke my head out and see who's... That was from within. I swear that's from within.
Right. Well, Amy's gone to see what's going on over there. I'm going to go up the top. God, it's much, much colder up here. Must be lack of heating at this end. Hoping that was Amy. Amy, was that you?
Yeah.
Oh. Where are you? Right, so there's no way. That's where I definitely heard somebody walking.
Yeah.
Which is the same place that we heard that.
The only place to be able to, you wouldn't be able to come past. There's nothing running up that side as far as I'm aware, in terms of staircases.
Right.
I'll double check that one. Can you hear me running up and down the stairs?
No,
So you think if it was somebody outside?
you'd be able to hear it.
Well, if you can't hear me,
Yeah.
you'll be able to hear somebody anybody else that's going down the stairs.
Mm. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Definitely something up there.
Yeah.
That thump.
What was that? I just had a flash over to my left.
It's not us.
What's that high-pitched whining?
Listen.
There was like a big light over this side.
There were drunks singing, unfortunately, which is a nuisance. I mean, it's the early hours of the morning now, and you get tired, don't you? But in saying that, there, creek, over by you, you're right over there.
Yeah. So I'm not sure it's not like there was a really bright flash that I saw out the corner of my eye just over by where the doors are. And now every now and again I just keep getting like little, I can see spots of light suddenly like appearing in different places.
Well, that's been described here, hasn't it, by other people.
But they're quite big. They're quite...
And what about that great big flash that people have seen earlier this evening? You saw one, didn't you, Stuart?
Yeah, I saw one earlier on, yeah.
That was good for my bowel. That was.
was that?
There's a walkie-talkie.
Yep.
Shine the camera up to the light up on the balcony so you can see
Which one are you pointing at?
where the light is to the right.
Are you moving?
Yeah, that's right, that's me, just changing the position.
Because that's where the man was seen quite recently.
I have been looking up there a while because it draws your eye, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Does he sit there or walk across? Do
Well,
we
he
know?
was standing there,
Looking.
and she was on this side, and she saw him there staring at her.
That's creepy.
But she realised that she had to come past, so as she got to about there, he faded out.
Why is that doing that?
That's a battery going on a...
No, it's not, it's somebody keying a line, keying a radio. My partner. Who's got the radio in the other team? Kieran?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be just randomly keying the radio.
No.
Who wants to go down there by themselves to go and get the radio?
Where's the radio?
Eh?
Pity I banged my leg.
Yes. It's a shame I'm stuck.
Why is it doing that? Could it be the battery going, do you
No,
think?
it doesn't make that sound for the battery going.
Ah.
It's only when somebody presses the button on the radio. It'll either be somebody pressing the button on that radio or somebody else pressing the button on their radio.
I heard that over there then.
The first piece of evidence I'm going to show you is taken from CCTV footage. Here you can see 4 screens showing different views of the theatre. As I rewind, replay, and zoom in on a particular screen, I want you to try and focus on visual phenomena that appears, but all the while remembering the story that you heard about the translucent figure that appeared in a particular area of the theatre. The footage appears to show a translucent figure coming out of the fire exit doors and walking along the aisle in front of the seating area. Now I say appears to show because of course we're tying this phenomena in with the account that's heard about the translucent figure that's seen walking in this area of the theatre. However, the footage that you're looking at is very poor quality. Certainly one thing we'd like to do for the next Ghostlands investigation is up the quality of the CCTV cameras. But it's not only that. We're looking at footage that ultimately we're trying to tie into previous accounts. And although it would be great to capture footage of a translucent figure, what we've got here is perhaps something more mundane. One could attempt to track the motion of such an object using principles from physics of motion, perhaps, or something similar, but would it be necessary? This is an orb, after all. The second piece of evidence is also CCTV footage. However, to create a context, I'd like to show you some more investigative footage. You're now seeing CCTV footage on the left-hand side of your screen. This footage is taken from various cameras dotted around the theatre, but what's significant is the time at which they were recorded, because on one of the cameras something very interesting happens.
Yep.
Yeah, no, this is just, it's the 40-foot drop. If you go up and look behind you, that's the stage.
That's one of the sides.
On this particular CCTV camera, at this point in the night, it seems to flit between lots of different camera views. And initially, the Ghostlands team were quite confused and surprised by this phenomena. However, we now realise that this is something to do with the DVR system and the way it copes with a situation if one particular camera is taken out of the system. So, unfortunately, in this case, not paranormal. After the first episode of Ghostlands was aired, several of you said that you'd prefer to see EVP evidence without us indicating what we thought might have been said. So for the final piece of evidence, we're going to present some EVP, but actually not indicate what we think it might be saying. We'll present you with some investigative footage and then the EVP.
It's like a museum for washing machines. You've got a modern one. What do you feel? Did you wait? Actually, it is a bit weird. One of us came out and think it was. It isn't it? I can hear that. Something over here.
So, do we know anything?
No, all I can tell you is this is the new theatre. This one was opened in 1936, if I remember rightly, 1930 certainly. And the Victoria Theatre was before, just a little bit, kind of a bit on this side, a bit at the back.
Oh, this area would have been used as the wardrobe.
Well, it says wardrobe, but when we came in, there was laundry. You can see there's laundry things, so presumably it's just for preparing costumes as well.
Right.
I mean, unless it doesn't look very big, it might be for the whole wardrobe.
It's cold, isn't it? Really.
It's a very strange place, actually, in some ways, because once we've finished first climbing up the stairs and gassing ourselves with paint, after that it does start to feel a bit odd. We'll see if we can call out. Did you hear that?
What was that?
Yeah, that's not
God, it's really gone cold. Feel, you know. It kind of drafted.
Do you know what it feels like? It feels like someone's walking around.
Yeah,
Around us, like a cold sweep. Ooh. Like an tapping. Distinctive tapping. Hello? Don't be frightened of us, come forward. See, some of these girls working up here, if this was the original room, would have been 13. Some of them would be 12, right?
Yeah.
Because although the ragged school laws had all been passed, people were starting work as maids and what have you at 13, that sort of thing. Certainly in the late Victorian period, but this is the new theatre, which opened a bit later. There's a lot of people used to come here. It seats 1,800 now, but it's seated at 1,700. There's a lot of people moving in and out, isn't there?
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of actors as well. Oh, it has gotten cold, hasn't it? Hello?
Was that you?
No.
That was really loud.
Well, we're off then, and bye. Right? Have enough of that. Let's put the chairs back and let's get out of here.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Make up your own minds about the EVP and any evidence presented. This is really just a snapshot from a number of investigations we have conducted of the new theatre Oxford. Subscribe to the Ghostlands channel to ensure you see further clips from this particular investigation. We have listened to you following the first episode, and so, for the episode that you've just seen, we've taken on board some of those recommendations. We lengthened it slightly, removed the majority of background music, and also the EVP text. As always, we are keen to hear your thoughts, questions, and further recommendations. So visit the Facebook page and Twitter account to share those thoughts, and also the website for more information. As Truman Capote said, imagination, of course, can open any door. Turn the key and let terror walk right in. Join us again soon for another Ghostlands investigation.